Hi, I'm Sam. I'm giving a talk on Zen and the art of software maintenance. So in software engineering, we use a lot of frameworks, and I don't mean specific frameworks. I mean a general model allows us to approach problem solving and gives us structure, context, a common vernacular, and a common set of tools. In software engineering, we generally have two primary categories: technical frameworks and organizational frameworks, with some examples. I believe that there's a missing framework category. I'm going to call them execution frameworks. So what does an execution framework look like? Execution frameworks discuss when the actual rubber meets the road of software engineering. Execution frameworks, in my mind, see, that was the issue, is I need my speaker notes. Execution frameworks discuss what it actually means to write software. So in technical frameworks, we actually have the technical details, and I really need my speaker notes. Here we go. There we go. So we see the results, the human results of failing to solve execution problems regularly: burnout, missed deadlines, poor productivity, disillusion with software work in general. We have tools to solve these issues, taking frequent coding breaks, creating design docs, etc. But what's missing is a framework that tells us which tools to apply, when to apply them, and the vocabulary that we need to actually discuss them. In essence, we're ignoring the human factor present in executing software engineering work. I think this blind spot dates back to the misguided idea that engineering artifacts are somehow divorced from the engineers that actually create them. We've all picked up these skills to some extent if we've been in the software engineering field for a reasonable amount of time, but it's unspoken, and that leaves room for stigmatization, uncertainty, and suboptimal solutions. See the tyranny of unlimited vacation time policies for more on that particular form of failure. So now that I've laid the case for an execution framework, what does that actually look like? I don't know. Trying to lay down a whole framework in a 5-minute talk is it's a tall order, but I have some ideas. Borrowing heavily from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig, and I would highly recommend anybody here to read that book. This is a tiny nugget of wisdom from it in maybe a dozen pages. I'm going to call my framework the Gumption Framework, because I believe that gumption is a very critical piece of software engineering that we don't really talk about, and it's the sense of enthusiasm and drive and eagerness. And it's the critical quality to pay attention to in this execution framework. Specifically, what I'd like to talk about in the Gumption Framework are gumption traps. And there's kind of two primary types that are highlighted in the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. External gumption traps, which we'll call setbacks, and internal gumption traps, which we'll call hangups. There are essentially unlimited number of gumption traps, but they all kind of fall into those categories. And I'm just going to highlight a few, one in each. So setbacks, my favorite example from setbacks are needing to change a badly defined API. If you went to Titus's talk yesterday, you could probably hear the defeat in his voice when he was talking about the streaming API, right? And that's because, it's a hard problem to change a poorly defined API, but I think there's more to it, right? Because we all love hard problems, but we don't love changing a poorly defined API. And the issue is that it's also a gumption trap. The gumption aspect is due to the human part of the challenge, which we don't like to acknowledge. When's the last time you read in a design doc a section titled, "How I Managed to Motivate Myself Through This God-Awful Deprecation," right? I actually think it's a mistake that we don't write that in our design docs. We've all seen what happens when someone falls into a setback without adequate support. It's sloppy work. There's a half-completed migration or an engineer that leaves the team immediately after finishing the project, right? Ignoring setbacks is ignoring a potential failure mode, pretending that programmers are machines that never get demotivated. The worst part of this is how we have solutions to these problems, but we often don't admit that we're affected by them, because that makes it become a personal failing, when in reality, it's a failing of the system, not of us. Right? And we can design around that. That's what we do, is design around these hard problems. Hangups are another aspect. I don't have time to talk about them because I have 3 seconds left. But that's all I can do in a 5-minute talk. And to summarize, pay attention to gumption traps, share the framework, and add detail. And if you do, let me know.